Guys, I found the single worst reality TV show of all time. And it's not on Hulu, it's not on Netflix, and it's not on Peacock. It's on YouTube. And I know it's a bold statement to say I found the worst reality TV show because reality TV is garbage by nature. It's known to be trash, okay? So what makes you think that in this large, vast ocean of terrible reality TV shows that I found the worst one? Well, you gotta just trust me, okay? Because there's a 100% chance that you will never see a show even close to as bad as this one. It's called PB Reality TV. And this channel, it's hidden within the depths of YouTube. It's only got 2,500 subscribers. And what makes it so bad is that it's a homemade reality show. So this guy right here, the PB millionaire, aka Jim, he woke up one day and he said, hey, I want to make a reality TV show about myself, showing how cool I am, showing how rich I am, showing how many girls I get. I guess he was going for a Dan Bilzerian type thing, but he ended up making the show, and we're going to be going over that final product. I want to dive into the episodes and give you the full PB reality TV lore. But after that, there's some questions that need to be answered. Like, who is this guy? Why did he make this show? Where's his money coming from? How does he know these girls? Overall, the big overarching question, what the fuck is going on here? And before diving into the actual episodes, let me give you some much needed context about the show and the colorful cast of characters. The show tries to mimic the formula of classic reality TV, being wealth, parties, beautiful women, all that stuff, right? But it fails miserably. Mainly because there's no production quality, there's no storyline, and there's really no purpose. It seems almost as if the purpose of the show is to just make the PB millionaire, aka Jim, look good so he could recruit more girls into his harem. Because the show mainly consists of PB millionaire taking his angels, yes, he calls his girls angels, out to lunch, throwing parties, and just making sad attempts at stirring up drama. And what's wild is there's only 7 episodes in the past 14 years. So it's not like they came out with 7 episodes all at once. No, PB Reality has been drip feeding us an episode like once every 2 years. And I don't know what the thought process behind that is. But then again, I don't know what the thought process behind this whole fucking show is. Everything about this channel baffles me. Let me just explain some of the main characters to you before we hop into the episode. So you got Jim, who's the PB millionaire, and he's essentially a babysitter to these angels, which are 20-something-year-old women, Jim being in his 50s. He's a narcissistic kind of guy. He's awkward. He's trying to play that Hugh Hefner role, but he's not quite pulling it off. And then you got Carissa. And Carissa feels like one of those 70s cult members. Like, she's got the dead look in her eyes. She talks in a slow, floaty way. It's like she's down to her last few brain cells. And she's nice, though. I will say she's nice. And she goes with the flow. But let's put it this way. If I were to start a cult, I would absolutely... She would be the first person I would recruit. At some point, she was 9 months pregnant. And she was working a bikini pageant for Jim while a baby's head is halfway out of her pussy. And the very next day, from working Jim's event, she gave birth. So it's safe to say she's brainwashed. We're probably not going to see much of her, but she's worth mentioning. And then we got Candace, who I would say Candace is the most entertaining person on the channel. She's always drunk. She clearly has some issues with alcohol, but she's very dramatic and she's always causing chaos. She's fun. And then we have the villain, Iris. And Iris is really just the quote-unquote bad girl, and she clashes with everybody, especially Candace. And drama seems to follow her everywhere. And the show tries very hard to turn her into a villain, but the scriptwriters, you could just tell they're not actual scriptwriters. It's clearly their first time ever trying something like this. So they end up making her do some very villainous, cartoony stuff that is an attempt to make her look evil. You'll see what I'm talking about. And last but not least, you have Kyle. And Kyle, he's a very pivotal character. Because when he enters the show suddenly goes from reality TV to this weird scripted sitcom. And it almost feels like you're watching a porn without the porn. It's very uncomfortable to watch. I will definitely be showing you some Kyle scenes. But enough is enough. Let's dive headfirst into these episodes. So episode 1 kicks off with a voiceover hyping up the show, and then it cuts to the girls at a board meeting. And then some clips of them having fun, building gingerbread houses. And then that's when we meet Jim.
We make gingerbread houses, we go ice skating, and we even decorate his Escalade.
With all of these holiday events going on at the castle, Jim needs to be sure to get his twice-a-day meditation in.
Yeah, so that's our first ever introduction to Jim. Totally not fucking creepy. The way he's sitting there, a shadowy figure staring into the camera. He looks like one of those guys from those crime TV shows who is snitching on their gang so they protect the guy with shadows and a voice changer. Anyways, let's learn some more about Jim.
It's important for Jim to clear his mind and relax because for the PB millionaire, sometimes life gets a little bit crazy.
It's your job to shut up, not be such a...
This is our boss, Jim, also known as the PB millionaire. Being Jim's assistant is definitely a dream job. Jim lives a lifestyle like no other. He believes in celebrating life and he really knows how to do it.
I think it's really important to celebrate life, and I take every opportunity to do so. Whether it be a holiday, an event, or any other day we're celebrating. We're now getting prepared for Christmas, but before we get into Christmas, let's take a look back at the past year and see how much fun we had. So for the Super Bowl party,
I'm sorry, that transition into the Chargers jersey, it gets me every time. We then see Jim teleporting into different costumes, explaining all the fun holidays that he throws parties for with his harem of models. This one being my favorite, his Thanksgiving Indian headband. Fast forward to the first major event in the show, which is ice skating. And I'm 99% sure he only added this to the show so he could give the girls lines saying how good he is at ice skating and how cool he is.
While we were ice skating, there were a bunch of cute little girls following Jim around,
And they adored him. I was really surprised by Jim. He didn't fall once, and several of the other girls that were with us, we fell at least a couple of times.
Jim is really great at ice skating, and I wish I could be as great as him.
And this is a theme throughout the series. Compilations of uncomfortable compliments towards Jim. A main chunk of the content in these videos is exactly that. Almost as if this entire series is some autistic rich dude trying to make himself look cool to recruit more angels like Carissa to his loyal cult. They then cut to the Christmas party where people are just complimenting Jim the entire time.
Jim's amazing. He's having a great time.
I love Jim.
It's great. Jim's amazing and so friendly. It's just, I love Jim. He's super funny when he wants to be.
Yes, wonderful content. In fact, I should mention before we move on that Jim has an entire video on his channel dedicated to people just giving him compliments. I'm serious.
Have you met Jim yet, the PB Millionaire? I sure have. He's a great guy. He really is. What do you guys think of Jim, the PB Millionaire? He's awesome. I love that guy. Every time I hang out with him, I'm like, you are so rad.
Very classy.
He's awesome. He's amazing. You're a good friend of Jim's, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Great guy.
Awesome. Well, obviously I've known Jim for a while, so I think he is great. I like what he's doing with the show, and I like his story, his background, where he came from.
Let me tell you something about Jim. He's really a considerate, courteous person, and he's always been that way.
I mean, what the actual fuck, though, you know? Very odd stuff. Anyways, at some point, Candace flashes the camera, and then they try to add some random conflict into the episode, too, where they awkwardly throw in some drama about some dude walking onto the dance floor, but it's immediately resolved. It's pretty painful to watch.
in the middle of the contest, this guy just walks on the dance floor and starts dancing. So I walked up to him with a microphone and said, "What are you doing?"
Would that be okay with you? I just want to dance, honestly.
Well, okay. We could do that later. It turned out he was a friend of one of my camera guys, and he just had a few more drinks than he should have.
That scene reminds me of when you used to have to write fictional stories for English class in elementary school, and your brain isn't fully developed enough to write an actual story, so you just instantly resolve any conflicts with no tension whatsoever. But then Jim redeems himself. I'll give him credit. For about 30 seconds, he does redeem himself because he gives money to a poor family and he gives them a hotel to stay in. And you almost think for a second, hey, maybe this guy's not so bad. But then this incredibly painful scene happens.
I wish I was that lucky when I was 19. I had to go through so many women to find the right one. I still haven't found her. It's horrible.
Are you the man with the show?
Kind of, yeah.
TV reality show?
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing all right. Paul, nice to meet you. How are you doing?
Good.
The show's really great.
How do you know?
Well, I
You on
watched it
Facebook? All right, well, thanks for being a fan, man.
First episode, by the way. So this dude walks up to Jim saying he's a fan of the show during the first episode. The math is not adding up here. The episode ends with Candace and Iris getting into a fight over a broken glass. Speaking of jobs, what are their jobs? What is Jim's job? They keep having board meetings with Jim, but for what? Like, none of this is explained in episode 1. Oh yeah, and something great about PB reality, which I have really come to enjoy, is that every single video ends with a music video. It's 3 minutes long, 3-minute long music video of them singing and dancing. Episode 2 revolves around a Super Bowl party, and episode 2 kicks off with Candace, drunk per usual, and she's talking shit about Iris. And it turns out Iris got fired, but nobody cares because they're about to have an amazing Super Bowl party. And Jim really tries to emphasize that people are traveling from all over the world to get to this party. He really tries to make it seem exclusive.
People have driven hundreds of miles to take part in this annual extravaganza.
I am from Oklahoma.
Mission Viejo.
And then we get another controversy, this time involving a camera guy and some Super Bowl trivia, which instantly resolves itself yet again.
Once the trivia started, somehow people who were answering the questions happened to be part of the camera guy's crew.
You got it right! You got it right! Come over here!
Just so happened all the questions were made by the camera guy, and all his friends were winning the questions. So it's very convenient.
He's my camera guy's friend. And who do you know that guy was in this party? It seemed a little suspicious at first that all of Jeff's friends were winning the contest, but as it turned out, they just happened to know a lot about sports.
Leading us to the costume contest. They have a costume contest even though everybody's wearing the same exact referee costume. And the second place winner, I'm pretty sure she was 15 years old, just looking at her. And they start spamming us with more holiday festivities, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day. Just no plot whatsoever besides showing that Jim is paying for all the dinners for the girls. But then we get to the photo shoot on the beach. And the photo shoot on the beach is absolutely wild. So they're having this photo shoot, and then a seal shows up. And the seal, it's chilling. Everybody's like, oh, it's so cute. Oh my God, a seal. Let's take pictures with it. So what does Jim do? What do you think Jim does? I bet you'll never guess what he does to this seal. And no, he doesn't club it to death, okay, you sick bastards. He saw the seal. I guess he thought the beach was not its natural habitat. Maybe he thought it was hurt or something. And he called fucking SeaWorld to pick up the seal. SeaWorld, the place specifically known for the mistreatment of seals. Wild stuff. I cannot make this up. Swear to God, SeaWorld comes. They come in these SeaWorld jackets with these giant nets. They snatch up the poor seal and they take it away. And it was a PR disaster for Jim. People in Jim's comment section are leaving all these negative comments, but he deletes the comments. Any type of negative comments, he instantly deletes them. But that being said, Jim multiple times in his own comment section had to say that SeaWorld patched up the seal and released them to the ocean, which I hope is true. And I don't think Jim had bad intentions, obviously, right? I think he's an idiot. But that was the second episode. And as always, cue the 3-minute music video. Episode 3 is the Miss Pacific Beach Contest, and it's basically just a bikini pageant. But Jim really wants us to know, he really makes a point to keep this in the final cut, that these contestants will do anything to win.
When Jim first arrived and headed to the judges' table, one of the contestants had come up to him and said that she would do anything to win. And she wouldn't leave when Jim had told her that it was time for her to go backstage and get ready. She insisted on staying there and talking, so she wouldn't leave Jim alone. So he had to get one of his personal security guards to come and escort her back there.
And of course, Jim, being the supreme gentleman that he is, he shooed her away. But what makes episode 3 special to me is Jim's jokes. Complete with subtitles, of course, to remind us that they're jokes. Here's an example of one.
You need something inspirational. Maybe you'll remember these words and maybe it'll help. I hope so. Anyway, it's better to look good than feel good. You know, don't you agree? Better to look good and feel good. And whatever you do, don't be yourself, okay? And I've lived by those things, and it's really helped me a lot. I just wanted to share that with you, that's all.
Well, thanks. Appreciate that. I'll keep that in mind.
We also get the return of Iris as she reappears as a contestant this time. Finally doing those cartoonish villainy things I mentioned before, tripping people, flipping them off, just a bunch of over-the-top stuff. And then, of course, to end episode 3, a 3-minute music video. Now we're about halfway into the series. We're at the Halloween party, okay? And the thing about these episodes is they get repetitive. So I'm just going to be showing the highlights at this point. But I will say that this episode is where the show starts to get a little bit weird. Jim tries to switch up the formula by adding in skits, like a scene where they reenact the printer scene from Office Space. And I feel like it just goes on for way too long. So that was that. And by the way, we're 4 episodes in, and we still have no idea what these girls' actual job is, besides following Jim around, of course. And we don't know what the board meetings are for. We don't know if Jim is sleeping with these women. We know nothing. And then, of course, we get more people singing Jim's praises.
The decorations are amazing. We're with an amazing guy, Jim.
Followed by the music video, of course. Okay, episode 5, we are getting deep into this because now it's just full-blown editing chaos. It seems like Jim is pivoting again. He hired this editor that is doing speech bubbles, sound effects, all this obnoxious stuff. And this is also the episode where we finally meet Kyle. And Kyle is Jim's mini-me. He's his little person sidekick. I hope I'm using the right word there. Not really sure. But having a quote-unquote mini-me, it was a huge trend in the 90s. I don't know if anybody remembers this. I don't know why it was such a big thing, but a lot of people did this. I think it stems from Austin Powers, but I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, those board meetings we were talking about that we have no idea what they're about, Kyle is now running these board meetings, and he's meant to be sort of the bad cop. Jim brings him in because Jim is supposedly too nice to the girls, and now the girls hate Kyle because he's running these board meetings, and the girls are now plotting how to get him out so they could get Jim back into running these board meetings for a company that, as far as I'm concerned, is just completely fictional at this point. Episode 6 is all fake acting at this point. It's basically become a scripted soap opera.
Oh, we're doing a beach photo shoot, and then we're doing that medieval times party.
Okay, cool. Is Kyle working?
Unfortunately, yes.
What do you mean, unfortunately? Let me talk to her. Where are you?
I'm running late. I'm stuck in traffic.
Again? What's today's excuse?
So at this point, the reality show that it once was is completely unrecognizable. And I swear to God, they hired porn cameramen and directors, and you cannot convince me otherwise. I think this is just an attempt of Jim pivoting the show once again because the content wasn't working. But at this point, we're 10 years into the reality show. I honestly don't know what's going through the guy's head. But anyways, that leads us to episode 7, the final episode, released just 5 months ago. So Reality PB, it's still going strong. But I'm not going to show you anything from episode 7. It's more of the same horrible acting from the previous episode, fake drama. But there is one incredible scene where Jim is standing in this sexy lighting in the bathroom while he's on the phone. And I'm going to show you that.
Good morning. Does everyone know about the meeting today at 9?
Yeah, everyone texted last night and they all confirmed, but Kat said that she's going to be late because of some appointment or something.
Yeah, of course she's going to be late. What else is new?
Anyway, I'm going to come a little earlier so I can get the conference room ready and all that good stuff.
Okay, but don't come too early because I still need to meditate, shower, and get dressed and all that stuff.
Oh, you still need to meditate? I guess I'll just come right before everybody else does.
Besides, I still have to try on outfits to see what I'm going to wear.
For the evening, what do you think? Black skirt or red dress?
Red dress.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, see you in a bit.
Bye.
And that's the series. Now that you're all caught up to date on the lore of the series, I'm sure you have some burning questions, right? Like, why is he doing this? Who are these girls? Where is he finding these girls? All those questions I mentioned before, not many of them are answered by watching the actual reality TV show. The question I want to know the answer to probably the most is, how did this guy make his money? And I have good news. He has a random video on his channel that explains it.
The PB millionaire lives in a castle in Pacific Beach that he built himself using his construction experience. When he first moved to San Diego from the Midwest, he had no money and lived in his car. He invented a product used in the construction business that made him a millionaire. He is always busy running his business, but also devotes his time helping the less fortunate and working on his TV show called The PB Reality Show.
Now, do I believe some shitty AI voiceover made by Jim himself telling me that he's a self-made millionaire because he's some prestigious inventor? I'd be stupid if I did. But I looked up the goggles and I found a link on his Facebook to this site, which is a Shopify website, but the goggles do exist. Is his story about this being how he made millions true? Well, that's hard to say, but the goggles at least exist. So apparently he's a millionaire from inventing some goggles. But why is he making this show? Very valid question. And this Reddit post is the closest thing I could find to some sort of answer to this. In the first part of the post, he says, yes, I've known someone that worked for him, a DJ for his parties, and yes, I was at his castle back in 2005. I wasn't hired, paid to attend. I was invited by some clients I worked with, doctors. It was interesting. Met a couple of the Gracies, MMA. Imagining the Gracies in the PB Millionaire Castle, having people in rear naked chokes is just, that's a wild thing to be picturing. So the Gracies attended and were popular then. They were jerks, probably about 250 plus wealthy random people there. Really interesting house. And this is the important part here where he says, and you are correct with the idea of how he put everything together to pitch the show and finance a lot of it himself. It never went big, but he still tries to capitalize on it. So ultimately what this guy's saying is that this YouTube channel, he made all these videos in an attempt to pitch it to some sort of TV network, and it never got picked up, so he just continued doing it. And he continues to put more money into the episodes, keep putting episodes out, just because at this point, I think he's just like, I might as well keep doing it. I've been doing it for 14 years. And that person mentions not being paid. And the reason they say that is because a lot of other people in this Reddit thread are saying that he gets these girls off of Craigslist. For example, this guy's saying he used to place ads on Craigslist for models to attend his parties at $25 an hour. Supposedly, Crystal Hefner was one of his girls. Another person saying, weird, I'm pretty sure I saw this guy's ad in the Help Wanted section on Craigslist like 15 years ago. It was definitely some rich weirdo trying to pay women to come to a castle. Definitely the PB Millionaire. Who else would be doing that? Maybe Dracula or something. But he said, I remember it even had quotes from alleged other women he dated. It was pretty funny at the time, even though it felt sad and creepy, even back then. Extra sad and creepy to find out that he's still doing it. So I guess the girls are Craigslist models that he's paying, which makes the board meetings make a little bit more sense when I'm seeing these girls sitting at a table wondering what their job is. I guess their job is to just be there, really. It's making a lot more sense now. It still doesn't explain how Jim makes his money, unless he's still living off of those goggles that he allegedly made. But my own real theory on this guy's money is he inherited a ton of money, because it just doesn't seem likely to me that his story is true. It might have some truth to it, but I don't think he's coasting off of goggle money living in San Diego. And that's really all the questions I could find answers to, but there are a couple of interesting comments from insiders, people who have been to the parties, people who live next to him, and I do want to read those. I Am Boy Wonder says, I used to live right next to the dude. He's harmless, and he just seems lonely to the point that he pays people to be around him. I knew a girl he paid personally to say she was his girlfriend and live in his house, but she swears she never did anything with him. I would always tease her about it, but I did believe her that he only paid her to lie and say that she was his girlfriend, but I was always suspicious about it. So that's interesting. A neighbor has pretty good insight on if you're a good or a bad person, I would say, for the most part. So that does say a lot that this guy's saying he's harmless, just a little weird. But then Jeffrey Dahmer had neighbors who, for a long time, probably thought the same thing. Not saying that PB is anything like this, just saying. This comment is also very interesting. It's from a girl who went to his house one time. She says, my friend went to an open call for the PB Millionaire reality show in the late 2000s, and I accompanied her. The night began at the Wave House in Mission Beach. My friend was in her early 20s and a bombshell blonde. She was invited to round 2, which was dinner hosted by the PB Millionaire at Tower 23. For some reason, I was also invited to join the group of hopefuls and hangers-on for sushi and drinks. My friend apparently made it to round 3, which was an after party at Casa Millionaire. My friend informed me that she thought I might hurt her chances of being selected as a brunette with no desire to join the reality TV harem, and that I should call it a night. I had a pretty good buzz going and I wished her well. I have no clue how I returned home in those pre-Uber days. I lived in PB, so there's a possibility. I said F it and walked a mile back to my apartment. I didn't see my friend again until she returned to her boyfriend's place the next morning. We were neighbors. She looked worse for wear and just said that the vibe at Casa Millionaire was no bueno and things had ended on a sour note. She said the girls that made the final cut were extremely desperate for housing and whatever Timu Playboy Mansion fame the PB Millionaire was capable of providing. What a time to be alive. And this does make sense because there were at points in the show, I don't think I put any in the video, but there would be girls who they would be getting interviewed, and the girl interviewing the other girls would ask, how are you liking it here? And one of the girls said, I'm moving in tomorrow, which I thought was pretty shocking, which made me feel the culty vibes of the place. You know, I think the ultimate goal of this guy is to just get desperate girls to move in with him so he doesn't have to keep paying these Craigslist models. So while I don't think this guy is murdering people, I do think he is being predatory in the sense that he's using his money to get a bunch of desperate girls to hang out with him, you know, live that lifestyle of having 10 wives. I think that's what he's going for. So in conclusion, after going through this insane rabbit hole, it seems like people, even from San Diego, just have no idea what's going on with this guy. The consensus being that he's lonely, he's a little bit off, and he spends his money hiring Craigslist models to hang out with him. But those are just theories. And if you guys have any more info on this guy, maybe you're from San Diego and you have some interesting stories, I would love to read them because this guy is fascinating to me. I mean, to this day, I'm pretty sure he's doing targeted ads towards people to try and watch his reality TV show. So he's still at it. He's still cracking away. And I would love to know if there's some information out there that I missed on this guy. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and maybe I'll see you next time.